Hey guys, what's up? It's JOZ and it's mock draft central time. There's this thing called the NFL draft way down the line. The NFL combine isn't even here. So at this point, mock drafts are basically analysts throwing darts at a board and trying to do their best chance. And even at the end of the day, there's none that are absolutely right. So today I'm going to simplify what I think the Vikings should do for their first round pick and give my 5 selections. Now I didn't just have a very simplistic process. I made this as complex as possible because that's what I do. I took the players of needs that would fit the Vikings in the best way possible and that fit what they need and what they're going to want to do in the 2019 years and past that. And also I looked at some mock drafts, not just one. I went 5, and I went with some of the best sources I could think of. I went with the top 4 sources in the NFL, including Chad Reuter, Lance Zierlein, Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, and I took one from Walter Football. So 5 mock drafts, and I compiled where my selections would go in their drafts, took an average, so we could see how likely it would be where the Vikings would draft, because I don't think the Vikings are in a position where they'd want to move up the draft a whole lot, maybe 1 or 2 places at the most. So if they weren't near the Vikings are going to draft at number 18, I just didn't make it an option. So here are my top 5 choices for the Vikings to draft in the first round in 2019. Starting off, where I'll start on the defensive side of the ball. I know Vikings fans hate when it's not an offensive line that the Vikings would draft, but this is the only one that would kind of make sense. That is Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle, extremely explosive, 3 technique, can run up the field, get sacks, make plays, tackles for a loss, fantastic at getting pressure at the quarterback and knocking running backs off their course. He's compared to by many experts as a kind of a poor man's Aaron Donald. The very similar traits, just not quite the same level that Donald is at, but holy cow, would he be great. If the Vikings cannot sign Sheldon Richardson, he is a fantastic option for the Vikings to look at. But another thing that might make him more unlikely, he is the lowest overall draft selection on here. He is an average of number 16 in the draft, but he's gone as low as 7 and he's gone as high as 28. This is what I mean by these mock drafts are all over the place. So if he slides and the Vikings let Sheldon Richardson walk, he would be an excellent pickup at 18. Moving up to the aforementioned offensive line. The Vikings signed Kirk Cousins, gave him all this money. They need to protect him, and there's not a better pass-protecting offensive tackle than Andre Dillard. He is the best pass-protecting tackle in this draft class, bar none. He is very similar to Brian O'Neill. Very quick. He doesn't get beat up by these pass rushers, and at the same time, isn't really good at pushing back guys in the run game. So you have a really, really good pass blocking tackle, but a not very good run blocking tackle. So the Vikings would get half what they want there, but not all what they would love. But it would give the Vikings 2 of the best run blocking tackles in the NFL. I know that's not a huge statement. Brian O'Neill, what is he, a second-year tackle? But still, that duo would be ranking pretty high in the NFL, and it would help Kirk Cousins out quite a bit, and it would give the Vikings some of the stability that they need on the offensive line. Just unfortunate that he's not as good at run blocking, and also it'll give the Vikings yet another offensive tackle on the roster on the offensive line. If we would get Dillard, we'll give the Vikings Brian O'Neill, Mike Reimers, Riley Reiff, and now Dillard. 4 tackles, 2 of them would have to play guard, and good chance Mike Reimers would already be a good candidate to get cut, so he'd be out of the equation. But the Vikings would have to hope that Riley Reiff would handle the guard transition a lot better than Reimers. I know a lot of Vikings fans have been going around a lot that the Vikings are interested in moving Reiff to a guard already. So this is a possibility, and a lot of Vikings fans hate it because how bad Reimers was. Now, it's not just a one guy didn't do it well, so nobody will situation. It's obviously a case-by-case areas to look at. So if just because Reimers didn't work out, the Vikings have better coaches now, and Reiff is a much different player than Remmers is and is always better than he was. So I think he would handle it better, but I would like the Vikings to not have to shuffle this offensive line more than we have to. So let's move on to number 3. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, but not on the offensive line. We're going with T.J. Hawkinson, the best blocking tight end in this draft class. So good. The most complete tight end as well. It's basically David Morgan's strength, run blocking ability, his footwork can pound defensive players away from their running back, and also Kyle Rudolph's hands and route running. So good, so complete, would help the Vikings out so much. You want to look at what the Vikings could do. All of a sudden we have another tight end in the mix. Kyle Rudolph's freed up to be a wide receiver, so this kind of frees up the Vikings' need for a wide receiver 3 if we could use a tight end in that role a little bit more. So if Rudolph is also free, because now we have 2 blocking tight ends that could sub in and be kind of a number 6 offensive lineman, holy cow, that would be great. The Vikings would have that play action game with 2 tight end sets all the time, and that's what Kirk Cousins loves. And Cousins had great tight ends in Washington, so this seems like another pick that helped Cousins out a lot. This would help the running game by him not plowing down defenders the way he blocks like a right tackle, and then he catches the ball like a great tight end. So he's a fantastic pick. His average selection was 21, so he will be most likely on the board when the Vikings are up. And so if the Vikings want to go there, he'd be an excellent option. Number 2, one of my favorite players. These last 2 are very, very close. Guard/tackle Cody Ford, the best run blocking guard in the NFL. As much as it's nice to have the best pass blocking offensive lineman, you could argue the best way to protect against the pass is to run the ball better. If you don't have to pass all the time, you don't get sacked all the time, Kirk Cousins will be a little bit more alive. He'll set up play action. The defense won't be wrecked as well. So running the ball better will help out the Vikings in the passing game as well. And Cody Ford is projected to be a guard in the NFL and can absolutely plow down people, has the excellent combination of size and strength, which I think the Vikings would love. They want a guy that can go lateral down the field if we're going to do our outside run, Kubiak-style offense. That will help us a lot. And we can run up the middle now that we have some size in their offensive line. I would love this pick, and it'd be hard to shy away from. His average selection was 17, so very good chance he'll be right around the neighborhood where the Vikings will be drafting. So if Cody Ford is on the board, I would have a hard time seeing him get passed up for somebody else. But before we get to number 1, I do have 2 honorable mentions. These were 2 players that were on my list initially, but didn't quite make the cut due to them being a little bit too high. So 2 players that if they slide, would love to see him too. So number 1, we're gonna go with the best right tackle in this draft class, and that is Jawan Taylor. A lot of experts say he is the best tackle in this draft class. His average selection was 9, so a top 10-ish pick, but we've seen these picks slide. So just because mock drafts say they're top 10, they can easily slide to 15. If they could do 15, maybe the Vikings trade up to pick him up. So he is a Phil Loadholt style right tackle, just absolutely washes down defenders. Again, would help the run game a lot, but just like Dillard, would give the Vikings an interesting scenario where all of a sudden we're going to have to shuffle up our offensive linemen again. And even though Brian O'Neill's prototype is more of a fitting for a left tackle, and we could just plug in Taylor at right tackle, and that'd make a lot more sense. But if the Vikings are kind of done with shifting around our offensive linemen, this wouldn't be the best pick, but man, he's a very good run blocking tackle and very stout in the run pass game as well. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, this is the only other defensive player I would be fine with the Vikings drafting in this first round, and that is Devin White. His average draft selection was 11, so a little bit better chance than Taylor to make it to 18, or in the round where the Vikings could easily trade up. He is very similar to Anthony Barr, so obviously, if Barr goes, the Vikings will be in a need for outside linebacker. He fills that role immediately. He's extremely fast, can cover, can blitz, can tackle, hard hitting, gives the Vikings a little bit of spunk on the middle of their defense that they kind of need. And if Barr goes, he fills that role also, just like Barr. He came into college, he was a running back, he has that speed, he has that explosiveness. Mike Zimmer would love him. So if he slides, I would not be upset at all. The Vikings went with him. But moving on, number 1. The most complete guard, Jonah Williams. He is more of a guard than Cody Ford. He's a little bit better at pass protection than Ford is, and not far away in run blocking. So a little bit more of a complete factor helps him out a little bit more, and he's a little more flexible on the offensive line. His average draft selection was 16 as well, so right around the neighborhood where the Vikings will be drafting. So a good overall, just plug in and play. He can do everything well in the offensive line. He'll need somebody that can run block and pass block, and that would help out the Vikings because we need it both. So I love Jamal Williams. I think he's really good. And the scouts say his fundamentals are spot on. He improves all the time. So the guy that you can expect the Vikings to love right off the bat. They don't have to get the fundamentals down right away. They can work on scheme. They can work on little things, and they can improve right off the bat in the NFL. So upside here is huge. But any of these top 5 guys would be very, very good. So give me your thoughts in the comments which one you want. Of course, Ed Oliver, the explosive defensive tackle, plug and play, 3-tech, Sheldon Richardson, replacement, Andy Dillard, the pass-protecting, stellar left tackle, TJ Hawkinson, the run-blocking hawk of a tight end that can just plow guys over and then catch the ball over their head the next play. And then Cody Ford, the guard that can just eat up defensive tackles. Dalvin Cook could probably run for 1,500 yards if he's healthy. Next, Jonah Williams, very similar, maybe not 1,500, but maybe slim it down to 1,200, but also Kirk Cousins would have about half the sack. So our offensive line would improve immensely without half these guys, and the defense would love Ed Oliver as well. So give me your thoughts in the comment section. Are you guys on team, if it's not offensive line in the first round, you're dumb? Because I might have to make a video on why, if it's not an offensive line in the first round, that's not the end of the world. But give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which one of these 5 guys is your favorite? Do you have a guy that didn't make my list in your list? Tell me in the comments. I'm going to see you guys in the next Josie Vikings video. See you guys then.